Okay, first of all, now, this session is a little bit different this afternoon, is if you've got your own Padlet account, I'm going to do something and you can watch, or if you want to have a go at building it at the same time, you can do that and we can just take it nice and slowly. So this is a little bit of a how-to, but actually have a go at the same time so you get the hang of it. So if you want to play, please feel free to join in. If not, just watch. The session is being recorded, so you can come back to it later on and have a go yourself. Okay, so we'll make a start. So welcome everybody.
Just to say, if you don't have a Padlet but you'd like one, if you click the link,
thanks Tom,
in the chat and follow the instructions there, use your Gmail account to sign in, you'll get a Padlet account and can follow what Andy's about to do.
Fab. Thank you. Right, so let me just see the chat. Okay, so I'm assuming with this workshop that perhaps you've had a play with Padlet already, because what I want to do on this one is something, it's easy, but in the scale of the kind of things I've been showing you how to do on Padlet, it is just a little bit more, well, it's advanced, but what's advanced in Padlet, because it's all quite straight easy. But what I want to show you today is one of the questions that we've had a lot about Padlet is, can students have their own Padlet, and how do I use Padlet to support group work when I want to run a tutorial and I've got more students in a larger group? I'm not quite sure how to use Padlet effectively to set it up. So what I've done is created one. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you the basics of how I created it, so you can actually do your own kind of like alternative version of it. So I've created some boards here. So I'm going to just start here. So I've created one introductory board, and I'm hoping you can see that. And basically what I've done is, this is an exercise. So this is a business exercise where I want the students in groups to collectively think about Porter's 5 forces model. And it's a small tutorial group. I've got 4 groups. You can have more. And basically I'm splitting the students off into groups, and I want them to go away and then investigate the 5 forces model in their own Padlet, or I'm now going to start calling it Paddle, thanks to Karen Ann. Okay, so what I've done on this homepage, and it's a bit like creating a tiered structured website, that all these pages are now effectively connected back to this homepage at the beginning. So if you look at the different elements I've incorporated, I've put a little welcome. So all I've done in Padlet is, if I play that, hopefully it'll work, is just done a little pre-record of...
Hi everybody, hope you're all well. Andy here, looking forward to working with you this week on our next strategy session. So having established kind of like the principles of strategy in our previous sessions, what I'd like you to do this week is focus your attention around the 5 forces model that's been developed by Michael Porter, and how we can use that as a tool.
Okay, so you get the message. So I've given a little intro. This is what I'd like you to do. There's a little bit of text with the instructions, and I've embedded a YouTube video in there that the students can watch, like that. And then there's a website that supports it. So they've got the core resources to begin with. And then what I've done is created the groups alongside. And basically, if the students come in now and just click individually on that, that will then take them through to their own Padlet page. Okay, so actually what I'll do is I'll go back to me Padlet. And then what I've done is then that they can have a go at filling that in themselves as a group. The other groups, when it's finished, can then come back in and they can comment on everything people have posted. But from that, they can then basically head back to the home page. So I've created a little suite of pages, okay, just to facilitate that entry point. Because I'm conscious that people are coming in going, oh my God, I've got all these pages and I've got students in different groups. That means I've got to send out 4 or 5 URLs. I've got to think about 4 or 5 QR codes, and it's just proving a little bit too much, and the students are finding it confusing. So this is about creating one Padlet page that all the students kind of like come to. They filter through this site, they can identify which group they're in, and they're off. They're farming themselves out. And what I can do here, and I'll show you how to do it, is I can set the editing rights on these different pages. So they effectively, this is their own page. So one of the questions that we've had asked is, can the students have their own Padlet pages? Well, no, in a polite sense, because across institutionally, if we were to do that, we'd break Padlet. The students can create their own Padlets using their own personal account, and they get 3. So that is enough to do group work. But by assigning some groups their own pages and changing it so they have full editorial rights, effectively you are creating those Padlet pages for the students that they can then go and play with and work on themselves. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is just basically take you through the key stages of actually how to put this together, and do it quite expediently, that you don't have to create multiple pages. You can create the same page but duplicate it, which saves quite a lot of time in terms of that process. Does that sound like a plan with everybody? Just in the chat, have you all used Padlet before, just to give me an idea of? I know Tom has, I know Karen has, I know I have. So Sarah's good, Alex is good. Okay, Ben hasn't. Ben, it's really easy. Okay, and I'll take it nice and slow. How many of you are watching, or how many of you are going to have a go at building it as we go? Doesn't matter either way, but it's just good to know if anybody's going to have a go. Right, Coral's up for it. Yeah, having a go. Excellent. That's what we like people to do, is just have a go. Right, so I'm going to take it nice and steady. So basically what we need to do first is create our homepage. So just make a Padlet. And for this one, I just use the canvas board because I want the flexibility of where things go. On the latter ones, I use the shelf, and I'll show that in a minute. So I just create a canvas. And as you come in, so if you've used it before, again, just play on the right-hand side. You just need to edit your Padlet for whatever you want to do. This just tailor make it to your own design element. So I'm going to follow the line of competitive strategy. So I'll try and replicate the one I did as close as I can. So competitive strategy intro, like so, and then just work your way through the different elements. I'm going to take that off. You might want to put a little icon in. So I'm just going to keep it really simple, happy, chirpy face. The other one that's really useful here is looking at some of the boards today, it generates this default Padlet URL. You can actually overwrite that. And I'm just going to put comp strategy in there, which makes it a little bit more meaningful when the students start playing around with it. Oh, I've used that already, so I'm going to do 2. Right. I want to change my wallpaper, so I'm just going to pick a solid color for this one, and I'm just going to choose the blue. Let's go with the blue, like that. And then I'll go down. Now, what do I want the students to be able to do on this board? Not a lot, because they're not going to comment on it. So we're all right with that one. Then I'm going to click next just to check, and we are good now to start posting. So very simply, I just want to put some core information on here to start with. So I'm going to just post something. And my first job is I just want to record some. So I'm going to put welcome, like that. So if you've all pressed a little button, now you should see the 3 little buttons at the bottom. So if you click that, what I want to do here is I want to record some of that video output. So I'm just going to click film. That then allows me to do my little video. So, hi guys, looking forward to seeing you next week. This is what I need you to do, please. Can you watch the video, think about competitive strategy, and then go into your groups and critique it against the chosen sectors that have been assigned to you. Play back and save that. Right. Okay, so there's me. And I can rescale that. There we go. So, ooh. There we go, like that. Okay, so there's my emphasis on communication and creating that relationship element in the beginning. Okay, So that's that. So what I want to do is I now want to put in my link. So I've got my YouTube video link prepared from earlier. So I'm just going to type that in there like that. And hopefully that will. There we go. So there's the YouTube video that I want. Like so. And I'm going to expand that out so it's all the same. Like that. And then the second bit I need. And again, I've got it already prepared. So a good example, when you do this, it's a good idea to have all your ingredients kind of like ready to just cut and paste in. So I'm just creating another link. And here, oh, it doesn't like that. Why isn't it like that? Oh, I haven't got my full URL in. Let's have a look. So copied too much. There we go. Right. Let's try this. There we go. So there's the okay. So there's my 3 component parts of information in that I'm asking them to do. Okay. Very simply. So I've put in a video, I've incorporated a YouTube video, and I've also dropped in a website. So it shows the flexibility of the types of things that you can actually drop into a Padlet to start them off. Okay, so that's the first bit done that I need to do. Okay, so if you're happy with that, what I now do is I go back to me Padlet, and I now need to create the group Padlets that I want them to use. So on this occasion, to give the structure, I'm just going to do select and use the column boards for that. So what I'm going to do is call this, I'm not going to do them all. I'll do a couple to show how to do it quickly. So I want to do competitive strategy 1. And this group's going to look at airlines. Okay. And I can put the names of the group in there as well. So let's do that as a starter. And then I can relabel that. So it's CP competitive strategy airlines. Or actually, let's do competitive strategy group 1. Change the background so it's the same as the one I've done before. Or let's do the blue. So that's fine. Go back to that. Back to me wallpaper. Important bit now here is where are we? So we want that. Do we want the viewers able to post comments? Yes, we do at some point later on. And then reactions, I would just like them to be able to just vote like the comments on each other's boards as they actually go through. You can change that so they can vote, so they can do a scoring, they can give star ratings, or if you're being very specific, you can actually get the students to grade each other's posts from a score. So you might say, give them out of 20 a mark for how effective or how valid the observations that they made are about competitive strategy in the airline. So I'm just going to select like. Next, that's fine. I'm going to click next. Start posting, but then I need to go back to share. Where is it? Hang on. Share. Right. So under share, so I was in the design, but I need to go to share, and I want to change the privacy setting here. Now, at a university level at the moment, it's set, and Tom will correct me if I'm wrong, to secret. That doesn't mean anything. It's just that that's the one we have. If you set it to organizational wide, you'll see everybody's Padlets in the main dashboard window. The most important one here is that I want the students to be able to not just write, but I want them to be able to edit. I want them to have control of that board so they can do whatever they like with it as a group. They can come in, they can re-edit it, they can tweak it. And I click save on there like that. So that board, if I just go back to my settings, Airlines 1, there are my team members. Let's see if we can jazz that up. So I want it to be airline specific.
Can I just jump in very quickly with that?
Far away.
With what Andy's done where it's can edit, can write would be enough just to post messages on the board. With can edit, they'd be able to change the title, they'd be able to change the icons, they'd be able to change all the other permissions. So it will have a place, but it is just to kind of consider, if you make it can edit, they could delete it as well. So
Hopefully
it's
not.
Yeah, but it's just to be mindful that it is essentially an administrator privilege. If you just want them on the base level to be able to post on the board and just work with what's on the thing, can write is absolutely fine for that. But if you want, like Andy's advocating, if you want to give them that control to change the group title, change what they want to do with it, that's where can edit would come in.
Ben, yes, you're right. Very right. Okay, so I click close. Now, so what we then do on the page is we can do for each group, welcome, and instructions. So that's the top heading. So I can go in there and click save. And what I can then do is do exactly what I did before, and I can include a little video saying, right, guys, what I'd like you to do in relation to the airline sector is do this. So I can facilitate some additional instruction on the page. Now, I'm not going to do that, but what I am going to do is just post. What I want to do on this one more than anything else is I want them to be able to get back to my first page. So if I click the buttons, can you see at the bottom it says link to another Padlet? So that allows me to highlight my Padlets, and all I do is choose the second one there. And what it will do is hopefully it creates that. Now, this is what I haven't quite worked out yet in Padlet, is why it's drawing that image in. You can't seem to reset this image. If you delete it, it gets rid of the hyperlink. So this is the hyperlink that if they click that, will take them back to the main page. Okay. So don't try. I did it the other week. I deleted it thinking I want to put a picture of an airline in there, and it got rid of the hyperlink. So I'm not quite sure what's doing it. It's one of those little things about Padlet that I really want to talk to them about. So I can just post, I'll just put my instructions in there like that. And I'm just going to move that up. So what we then do for each one is, oh God, I can't remember the 5. Sorry, it's been a long afternoon. So I'm just going to cheat because I can't remember them. Force 1, save. Force 2, save. Force 3. Should know this.
I can answer your question for you. Because you've got that video of the Force 5's model on the other page, it's basically, I think, randomly selected one of the videos and made it the...
Yeah, it's drawing content off that page, okay? So what we've done now is you've created a base group template, but this one I want to use for airlines, okay? So they've got their instructions on the left, and what they're going to do as a group is now, having watched the video and looked at the website, they're each going to come in and contribute along the board. They can put in their own videos. They could put their own video commentary in if they wanted. And if anybody was at Karen Ann's session this morning, you can see the types of things that they can now go away and post, okay? So what you're trying to get them to do is, if I was doing the video in the corner, what I really like on this board is a real exposition about, please demonstrate to the other groups what 5 Forces looks like for an airline. So you could be asking them to drop in websites that showcase elements of competition in the airline industry, the impact of COVID. They could link to YouTube videos. They could link to things of Bob. They could be including references and background reading. So you're trying to get them to create this lovely self-contained resource that really showcases their understanding of competitive advantage strategy within airlines. So you launch this, the students, the groups come in, they can populate it. What you can then do is come in and add. So you put your name in and you can put in, you can respond to that. And what you can then do once you've posted that one up is that you can come back in and you could color code your own comments on their work so they can see where you've actually come in and made some comments. Okay. Now, you can see where I'm going next. We've done this for one group and you're sitting, oh, now I've got to do this all over again because I need to do it 3 other times. Okay. Right. There's a little trick shortcut now in Padlet to help you do it. So if you go to the top right, can you see where it says remake? We click remake, and basically what it's going to do is effectively duplicate this Padlet. So what we can do here is we can just overwrite that and we can say, right, I want that to be, I want to do this time, I want to do hotel accommodation. And I can't remember the dog's name, but hey ho, you know where I'm going with that. Right. So it copies all the same attributions. We don't want to copy the post. Yes, I do want to copy the posts over because I want to capture what I've got there already because it's going to be the blank with the headings. I don't want to copy people and I'm going to just go submit. And what it does, it creates a duplicate copy of it. So if I go now back to my dashboard, which is there, you'll see them emerging. So if I go to made, you'll see that I've got my first 2, competitive strategy 1, airlines, competitive strategy 2, hotel accommodation. And all I simply do is just repeat that depending on how many groups I actually want to create, do it. So the remake is a really nice, efficient tool for duplicating a board and then just moving it. What I would need to do is go to that board. I need to go in there and I would just need to amend the instructions and for that particular for that instruction for that group. So it sets up the framework, it sets up the structure for what you want them to do. You just need to go back in and just change the specific content for that group. Okay. So I'm only going to do 2, but I think you're getting the gist of how you can actually do it. So
Andy, could I just ask a question? In terms of reusability year on year,
yeah,
would you keep the same boards but strip or make a copy, save it and strip it, or would you make new ones after in the next year?
That's a good question. The challenge is with one of these where I've got it, where I've put the headings at the top, that would class as a post. So if you wanted to copy it over with this structure in, it would involve copying over the whole thing. And then all you'd have to do is quickly go in and, sorry, Tom, but you just go, I just need to get rid of those. Like that.
Can you remake it quickly and just try for me? Because I know I'm not sure they are classed as posts. So if you leave
let's try it.
design,
okay, I thought they were right. Copy design. Okay, let's try this. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to call it Tom test. Let's see what it does. Submit. Yeah, it's deleted.
Yes, they are posts. Yeah, you're right.
It deleted them. So it's yeah, but it just sorry, I've just lost me. But it just does give you that immediacy of creating something and rolling it over. The challenge is when you're structuring it, it takes that core element with you. So you've just got to tidy it up behind. So I don't know. Having Johnny not rolled it year on year, I don't know what the answer to that one is effectively. So if you get there, can you let us know?
Well, just to kind of help set you up quickly on that, I would say at the bottom on the left there it says new folder.
Yes.
What I would do is make a folder and before anyone's put anything in, make them as like 5 templates and then remake them again. So you then have both options. So you've got a folder with just the 5 blank things in that if you need to remake, they're done. You don't have to worry about stripping out. Because again, seeing like Karen Ann's this morning, to strip all her posts out would take hours because her students have really engaged with it. But if you just have blank things already made, then you're not having to do what Andy just did, which is delete them and then remake them. So make a set of templates, put them in a template folder. Then from those templates, make another folder for the live ones year on year. And again, you could label that 2020, 2021, 2022, and go from there.
But what is really important with this is the housekeeping, and it's dead easy. On the left-hand side, you just click new folder. So I just do Minifest like that and submit. And then you just click on the 3 buttons on the top and you just go to add folder. And it's just a case of moving over like that. They stay on the dashboard, but if you then move around using your folders, you can really find stuff. And if you're using this a lot and generating a lot of boards, that housekeeping is really important, that you can actually just drop things straight in. So I'm back on my introductory slide. So I now know that I've got my 2 boards that I want to direct the students to. So very simply, I just add a post. And on here, I'm just going to type in, right, group 1. And that was airlines, like that. I can put in the names like so. Ooh. And then all I'm going to do here, you know what's come in. I'm just going to go Padlet. And I want it to collect to made. And I want it to find that one, competitive strategy 1. Like that. And it comes up with this. I don't know why it is, but again, it's come up with this little default art icon. Do not delete that because that's the hyperlink. Once that's in, what you can then do is if you click the little buttons, you can connect that to a post. And I want to connect it to that to show that it is linked to that video that they need to watch. And again, all I then do is go create another one, group 2, accommodation. Oh, always miss me second them off. Student names. Ooh. Like that. And then I just clicked Padlet. And I want the second group.
I think I've fixed your problem, Andy.
Oh, way up. This is why we do things as a team. Right.
If you can very quickly upload an image of anything you like onto the board.
Hang on 1 second. Let me just connect that.
Of
Connect that to there. Right. So I've given you 2 examples, but that board effectively is now complete in terms that if the students now come in, if they click on that, they identify which group they're in, that will take them straight back to their own group board. They can work on that and then come back to the main board once they've finished. What you've also allowed them to do is that each group, if you wish, they could almost say, right, group 1 and 2, I'd like you now to swap. And I'd like you to peer assess or go and comment in each other's boards. You can add comments, but you can also like and score the commentary and the content that that group has actually created themselves. So it could be a really nice formative tool to support assessment. Perhaps you've set them one of my presentations in the past was this exactly, go and critique the value appropriateness of the 5 forces model to a given sector. So it was a nice way of actually getting the students to bring work to. I didn't use Padlet for it. I did it the old-fashioned way, but it's the same thing. They can work collectively as a team to draw in evidence to really tell a story about a particular sector. And if you need more, all you do is just duplicate the existing boards and just keep doing the same thing. But what we're doing is that's different to having lots of boards is there's an entry point, signposting for the particular groups. They can work on it and then come back, but then they all can share each other's boards and develop that peer commentary and critique of each other's work. Okay, Tom, what do you want me to do? I think I've got an image on my desktop somewhere. I can't hear you, you're muted.
Yeah, I just realized that. I'm just uploading one now while you were doing that. So there's one at the bottom. If you go to that one, click on the 3 dots.
Yeah.
And set as cover, the flower icon.
Yeah.
Now go into your airlines board. that
Yeah.
You were off to. I think that the link will change from the people talking to that photo of a front room or a dining room, because I think you set the cover to. So
Okay. Right. I'm with you. Right. That's what set cover means. Okay. So if we go back.
He says, hopefully.
Right. So where was I? So I need to find I put it in there, didn't I? Minifest. Let's do recents. Right. So where was I? Competitive strategy 1, airlines.
Maybe just try re-adding the link because it.
Okay, let's do that. So I go there. No, that's all right. This is good to know because I didn't know this bit. I've been trying to work this one out. Right. So I want to go back to that one, don't I?
No, there you go. It's not that at all.
But I think you're in the right direction with it. I'll come back and have a play at that.
Yeah.
Right. So very quick recap. So again, there it is. That's the introduction. Now, to share that with the students, a couple of options. I'll tell you what we'll do, because this is something that came out of Karen Ann's session this morning. So I will try and show you how to do it. So a couple of things. Straight away, you'll get a URL that you can actually distribute to the students. That's fine. You've also get a QR code that you can send and they can scan in. It takes them in. The other thing you can also do is get the embed code. And I'm just going to take you through the process because this came up with Karen Ann's session this morning about how you can put it into Moodle. So I'm just going to copy that onto my clipboard. And then if I'm just going to open my Moodle page and log in. Tom, can you see my Moodle page? Excellent. Right. So I've got a bit of if I turn the editing, I've got a bit of a sandpit. So you can see I've done it here. And very simply, all you do is add an activity. You go to label. And we all know how to use this. So you click the down button, you click the menu expand button, show in advanced. And if you go along to the right, you've got this HTML on and off button. And you just turn that on. And all I do is get rid of that. And I just drop that code in like that. And I click save and return. And you can see now that Padlet is now embedded into my Moodle page. Now, edit settings. I'm just going to go back and show you one little trick. So I'm just going to go back into the HTML code. Can you see on that second line, if you go along, there's a width 100% and a height setting there. If you don't want the Padlet to fill the entire page, just play around with those settings to make sure it looks aesthetically pleasing on the page and click OK. And that goes like that. So there, I've just made it a little bit smaller, but it's still, the students can still, from within there, then link out to their pages. So you can direct them to it outside of Moodle, or you can direct them to it in Moodle, depending on how you want to structure and navigate their access to the resources that you're creating for them. Okay.
And you'll notice that the cover image has now changed. It caught up with you.
Oh, there we go. Right. So there's the answer. Hey ho. So does that mean that you then have to have a separate image somewhere on the homepage to act as the cover?
Sorry, I was muted and nodding.
Or is it if I set that as cover?
Yeah. So where you wanted it to be a plane for this instance, you'd have to have essentially hidden on the screen somewhere a little image of the plane set as cover.
Right. So if I go back to, here we go, people. This is Act Dev working collaboration on the spot and off the hoof. So if I go back to airlines, the other really good thing that you can also do, so I want a really quick picture of a plane. So if I go here, it allows me to search the internet. So I want a plane like that and see what I can come up with. That'll do. There we go. That goes in there like that. And I think what you were saying, Tom, is if I click on, oh, it's not doing it, is it? That's where it set as cover. Right. So if I now go back to introduction and click R, that airline one should change eventually. It should catch up with us.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey ho, we've all learned something new today. Brilliant. Okay, so there you go. But that additional flexibility of that, if you click, they want to post something and they want to go to the internet, they can pull things off, videos. They can go to the web. So I could go 5. So there's different things. Yeah, let's look at the legitimacy of what they're actually putting on there, but that might be relevant. So there's some stuff in there. So there's all sorts of different ways and they actually can use it. So if I put, let me go back to the first one I did. So that's 5 forces model. I'm going to go there. Actually, I'm going to go back to there and I want 2. So I want that one. Share, copy link to clipboard, go to chat. Okay, so in the chat, I've just put a link to that board. So you now should all be able to make a comment to that. I know it won't make any sense, but you'll get the feel for, if you open that up, what you can actually include and the types of things that you can do with it. When you're putting the videos in, if you've not done those before, they're really powerful, but they've got to be quite short. There's an upload limit on Padlet of about 25 megs, but a minute is probably, you get a minute's worth, but you can upload all sorts of other bits and bobs and documents and web links and videos and media and so on. So it's quite what you could do with it's quite powerful. And I think Karen Ann demonstrated that really nicely this morning in terms of what you can do. Karen Ann, hopefully this session today, this morning we were saying that you were getting very close to breaking it. This might be, what I was trying to say is that it might be that you create one, but perhaps filter them off a little bit so you're loading up a little bit quicker than you're doing at the minute. So you're not breaking it all. Mind you, we like to challenge Padlet. They're getting enough money from us.
We're certainly doing that.
The other thing to think about as well is always think about the device that the students are putting this on. I'm sitting here on a really large Mac screen. I can do it on my iPad. It's really easy to see the content. If they're doing it on a phone, it's harder because it gets too much information on the screen. The other thing as well, and this is a point that raised at another session, is that the boards become very, very busy very quickly. And some students might find that just a little bit overwhelming in terms of being able to access the content. So make sure you're just engaging in that conversation with the students about, is it working for them? The one that, the alternative one is to create a Padlet that has a stream or a back channel to it when you want them to engage. And that creates it a little bit like a Twitter stream. So it's just a little bit easier for the students to follow discussions sometimes without it being really overwhelming in terms of what you're actually trying to do. So
Andy, can I just ask you about that?
Yeah, Nigel.
We get some boards that are actually very, very full and they're very spatial. And it's actually quite important that everything is in its place and that you can move around the thing. But it involves a lot of scrolling, and quite often you don't know what's on the board because people are adding to it all the time. You don't know what's dropped off the bottom. So question is, can you zoom in and out in order to see the whole board and then target the bit that you want to zoom in on?
Yes, you can. Yes. Just by using your keyboard controls to minimize the zoom window. I'm going to be very cheeky. Karen Ann, would you have any objections if, I've got the link somewhere. Can I try it with one of yours? Would you have any objections? Because
No.
yours would that be all right?
Fine.
So
Yeah.
if we went to one of Karen Ann's, so the quickest way to scroll out is if you just do minus on your keyboard. So you're not changing that. All you're doing is changing your zoom on your web browser to come in and out. And then you can see where you need to go and then just kind of like scroll back in.
Right.
The other thing you can also do in the settings is it will notify you when things are posted, so you can track that. And I know who's commenting on Karen Ann's because I get reminded by it, because you get a little ping in the corner. It says something's popped in today. The other thing you can also do is moderate the content. So if you want to control it, you can put a gateway in and you approve everything that's posted. It does make it more cumbersome and time consuming. But if you need to put that level of intervention in, Padlet does allow you to do that. But I'm quite happy that students are posting up quite quickly. And as you can see, they're doing some really cool stuff. Karen Ann's put lots of pictures on here. And the good thing is that it does fire up quite nicely. So you can see. So it works really well for asynchronous activities if you want them to go away and work on something. The other thing it's also good for, we've run a couple of sessions recently on how do I get students to engage in larger lectures or seminar groups when they're socially distanced. This works because they can work collaboratively in their own spaces, and then you can have it on the screen at the front, and they're just projecting the comments and their images on. They could, be creative with it. So you could say to them, oh, draw a picture of something, a bit like Karen Ann's done here. And I think one of you just put some scribble in I think somebody just put that kind of like scribble. You can do all sorts of things with it. If you've got students that have got an iPad and a pen or a Surface Pro, they can actually scribble on their posts as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. But what I would always advise is when you start using it, just have that conversation with the students about how they're using it. So you're on the same wavelength, because if they're having trouble accessing it, it will fall apart on you very, very quickly. But as you can see, that's just a slightly more, well, it's not really advanced, is it? Because it's not exactly rocket science. It's just using that additional remake function to speed the process up and just linking some navigation in to help speed up the process of student finding it. And again, that comes back to the session this morning. I'm not sure you were all there, but the message from the SU today was clarity and communication around what you're expecting us to do. Okay. Could Padlet be part of an assessment submission? Yes, absolutely. Now, the challenge, yes, because the students could create their own Padlet on their private account and share it with you. That would be fine. The challenge is if a load of people are asking them to do it, they're going to run out of boards really quickly. That's the only problem. The answer to that is most students have got more than one email, so they create multiple Padlet accounts, but I didn't say that out loud.
Or equally, Andy, you do it like Karen Ann has done, where she made each individual student a Padlet board that they then... Yeah, you could. If you've got smaller groups, you can create their own boards for them and they have full control over it. That's fine. If you've got a lot of students, i.e. above 30, that I probably wouldn't go there because it's going to be really time consuming to do it. But for smaller groups, yeah, you can create their own space and they can present on it. That's not a problem at all. And it can be an alternative assessment format. Yeah.
So do students not have access to the UOP version of it then? They have to have their own?
Tom?
No, they don't. They are at MyPort and we have it for only at port addresses.
Okay.
The feeling was this year we were lucky that they agreed us essentially a site license. But going forward, what it'll then be is how many people after this year have signed up, we then get charged per user. So if we suddenly get 26,000 students, we won't be able to then continue using Padlet. Whereas if we have it just to, 1,000 staff, it is more cost effective. So yes, it is not ideal. And again, if it's something that's going to grow over the years and we can prove that, then maybe we can. But I think the problem will be that scalability of, and especially where they get like students get to keep at MyPort afterwards, they're still then going to be listed as a Padlet user, and it would have to devise a way of like knocking old users off. And yeah, so there's a whole range of other headaches it could bring. So at the moment it is just at port addresses, which is why I get a lot of emails going, people saying, oh, I'm listed as a student, but I'm not a student. Basically, when you sign up through our link, all staff are students. There's only about 3 of us that are teachers, because essentially that's a full admin account to see everything that's going on, and you really don't want that. Trust me.
Could I just swing back around to assessments? Can you download a local copy, and is it a JPEG or is it a PDF?
Whatever you like.
Okay, so could you not download a PDF and then upload that to Turnitin or Moodle assignment, perhaps?
You could.
Let me just show. So share, you've got an export, so you can. Now, it's different. Let me show you what a PDF looks like, because it doesn't look like what it looks on the screen. So I'll just publish one so you can see. It tends to turn it into a black and white document like that. So it's not quite the same in terms of that. But if they were just putting content on and links, it might just be a case of playing around with it to see if it meets what you want. Let me just go back to do another one. The image one will just capture what you're seeing on the screen. So it's a like for like screenshot. So it may be that in terms of marking, you want the you get them to submit the URL link into Turnitin, and you're marking it as a live Padlet page. Because you could always put feedback on it. So you could come in and you could do for each point through the additional commentary. You can add feedback as you're going and marking it in Padlet as well, as just as a thought. One last one. I'm just conscious of the time, and I've got another session at 3. But I just wanted to respond to Peter. Peter was asking about the timeline for project management. Most definitely, Peter. Just let me illustrate. So we click select on a timeline, and that's what you get. So I'm just going to I'm going to do that really crudely and start posting. So you can set this up with key points, or you can get the students to come in and they can create their own, depending on what you actually want them to do. So yeah, this one is possibly underused, but it's great for projects like that. I've also used it for looking at policy development in the UK, and you put the dates on the timeline, and then the exercise is that students have to identify this is for kind of like rural tourism development. They have to put the key planning dates. They have to go and identify what happened in a particular year. So they create collectively a really nice timeline with lots of extra detail on it that becomes a bit of a resource for part of the module. So yes, you can. Brilliant. Okay, colleagues, any final questions or thought? I hope you found that useful. It just, like I said at the beginning, it just came as a response to some very specific queries about using Padlet for different things. So again, it's one way to use it. And what we're beginning to find is that people are using it in many, many different ways. And that is the whole point of us purchasing it to actually get you using. It doesn't like, let me just check something.
That's Turnitin, not Padlet. From reading the conversation, I believe.
So I'm just checking. Yeah, no. Way of learning. Yeah, it doesn't like. Okay, right. Okay, brilliant. We've recorded this one, everybody, so it's online, so you can come back to it. And we run related things. If you look at the events calendar at the moment, Tom's constantly doing IT stuff. I've got a creativity one next week with some additional examples of how to use Padlet. So just keep an eye on all the events we're running, but please come back to the site and see and have a look at the resources. But also what we're also beginning to do is people are using this in different ways. Please submit a event pro forma and come and share what you're doing with us at the next mini fest that's going to be in January. We're really keen to hear what you're doing. ActDev would like to have a day off where we present no sessions at all and we just open the floor to everybody else, because today the practice that we have seen has been fantastic. It really has. And I think if you've presented today, you should be really proud of what you've done, because it's great. And we couldn't be more happy that it's happening. So well done, everybody. But like I said, we're here to help. So any problems with this, contact myself, Tom, and we can sort you out. Okay? Brilliant. Thanks for coming, everybody.